Let me say something that might surprise you. Women often become addicted to the very men who act like they don't need them. Sounds backwards, doesn't it? You'd think we'd want the man who gives us all his attention, who makes us feel like his whole world, who constantly reassures us that he's never going anywhere. But the truth? That kind of man usually doesn't hold our interest for long. It feels too safe, too predictable, too easy. What keeps a woman hooked isn't desperation. It's uncertainty. It's the feeling that you're not fully hers yet, that you could walk away at any time, that she has to earn more of you instead of being handed all of you on a silver platter. And I want you to hear this clearly. When a man acts like he's everything to a woman, she often loses interest. But when he acts like he's nothing, meaning he doesn't bend over backward, he doesn't beg, he doesn't put her above himself, suddenly she's chasing him, craving him, even obsessing over him. Why? Because deep down, women are wired to desire challenge. And nothing is more challenging than a man who refuses to make her the center of his universe. That doesn't mean being rude, disrespectful, or playing games. It means having a life outside of her, having boundaries, carrying yourself like a man who knows his value. When you act like you're nothing in her world, she's forced to prove to herself, and to you, that you actually mean something. And here's the part that men get wrong. Women don't consciously admit this. We'll tell you we want the guy who treats us like queens 24/7, but what we actually respond to is the man who keeps us guessing, who doesn't lose himself in us, and who makes us work for his approval. That tension, that distance, that little taste of unpredictability, it's intoxicating. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly why women get addicted to men who act like they're nothing, and how you can use this truth to stop chasing, start leading, and finally understand female psychology on a deeper level. 1. She can't stop thinking about you when you don't bend. Here's something you need to understand about women. We don't become obsessed with men who are predictable and always available. We become obsessed with the men who leave us wondering. The man who doesn't bend for us, who doesn't drop his whole world the moment we call, who doesn't rearrange his schedule just to make us happy. That's the man we can't get out of our heads. Why? Because when you don't bend, you're showing us that your life has weight. You're showing us that your priorities, your time, your energy, and your presence are valuable. And that's attractive. When a man acts like everything revolves around us, it might feel flattering at first, but eventually it feels heavy. We start to think, doesn't he have anything else going on? That's when the respect begins to fade. But when a man holds his ground, when he says, "No, I can't tonight, I've got plans," or when he doesn't instantly respond to every text, that's when something shifts in us. We start to question, why isn't he chasing me like everyone else? Why doesn't he fold the second I test him? Why does he act like he could take me or leave me? Those questions create curiosity, and curiosity fuels obsession. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a woman teasing a guy, trying to get a reaction out of him. Most men would jump in, laugh too hard at her jokes, try to prove they're fun, or rush to impress her. But this man? He just smiles, doesn't play into it too much, and carries on like it's no big deal. You'd be shocked at how quickly her energy changes. Suddenly, she's the one leaning in, trying harder, raising the stakes, all because he didn't bend. Women secretly admire men who stay grounded no matter what we throw at them. It makes us feel like we've met someone with control, with standards, with self-respect. And here's the funny part. When you refuse to bend, we don't feel rejected. We feel challenged. We start investing more effort, and the more we invest, the more emotionally hooked we become. So remember this. When you stop bending, you stop being just another guy. You become the one who stands out in her mind, the one she can't figure out, the one she keeps thinking about long after you've left. 2. Why your silence speaks louder than her words. Here's a truth most men never realize. Your silence has more power over a woman than your words ever will. Men are often told, you need to communicate more, you need to explain yourself, you need to reassure her. And while communication matters, what really triggers a woman's emotions isn't how much you say. It's what you don't say. When you fall silent, you create space. And in that space, a woman's mind starts working overtime. She begins filling in the blanks with her own thoughts, doubts, and emotions. If you're not constantly explaining yourself, if you're not rushing to defend every action, if you're not blowing up her phone every time she pulls away, she feels the weight of your silence. It forces her to think about you, to question where she stands, to replay the last thing you said or did. Silence is powerful because it communicates self-control. It shows her you're not desperate for validation, you're not living for her response, and you're not addicted to attention. Women are used to men who can't handle silence, the ones who immediately double text, call, or beg for answers when we withdraw. But when a man doesn't, when he lets the silence sit without chasing, that unsettles us in the best way. You see, women test men without even realizing it. We pull back, we go quiet, we delay our replies, all to see how you'll respond. If you panic and chase harder, you've just told us we have the upper hand. But if you match the silence, if you carry on like your life is full regardless of her response, you flip the script completely. Suddenly, she's the one craving your attention because your silence creates tension, and tension is what fuels attraction. Think about it. When a woman complains, nags, or throws little emotional jabs, most men argue back or try to fix it immediately. But the man who doesn't get pulled into every emotional storm, who stays calm, who doesn't let her words provoke him, that man becomes magnetic. Why? Because silence shows strength. It shows restraint, and restraint makes a woman lean in closer, trying to break through. 3. The power of not needing her attention. One of the most attractive things a man can show a woman is that he doesn't need her attention to feel whole. You have no idea how rare that is. Most men, whether they admit it or not, are addicted to female validation. They check if she's seen their story, they wait on a text back like their life depends on it. They get moody if she doesn't respond quickly. And from a woman's perspective, it's obvious, painfully obvious, when a man's mood rises and falls based on how much attention we give him. But here's the secret. The less you need a woman's attention, the more she wants to give it to you. Why? Because attention is currency, and women want to spend that currency on men who don't beg for it. If you're constantly seeking it, we know it doesn't cost much. If you don't need it, suddenly our attention feels like something valuable we have to earn. This doesn't mean ignoring her or pretending she doesn't exist. It means building a life so full that her attention becomes a bonus, not your lifeline. The man who is deeply invested in his own purpose, who knows where he's going, who fills his days with things that make him proud. That man doesn't crumble when a woman isn't looking his way. He knows his value isn't tied to her validation. From a woman's side, that energy is magnetic. We can feel when a man is centered in himself. It makes us want to lean in, to see if we can capture some of that attention, to wonder what it would take to hold his focus. And the more we wonder, the more invested we become. Men underestimate how much women value independence in a partner. If you're always available, always waiting, always looking for her to tell you you're enough, she'll never see you as the prize. But if you stand firm in your own lane, if you don't rely on her attention to breathe, she'll chase you just to see if she can break through your calm. 4. How distance creates emotional obsession. Here's something most men never realize. It's not your constant presence that makes a woman want you more. It's your absence. It's the distance. It's the space you allow between you and her that makes her emotions spiral and her attachment grow stronger. Women don't obsess over what they already have in abundance. If you're always there, always available, always one step behind her, she knows you're hers. And the moment she knows that, the mystery is gone. The chase is over. The pull weakens. But when there's distance, when you don't make yourself constantly accessible, her mind has no choice but to close the gap with emotion. That's when the overthinking kicks in. She starts asking herself questions she didn't expect. Why hasn't he called? What is he doing? Is he losing interest? Does he have other options? Am I not enough for him? That questioning is exactly what creates emotional obsession. It's not about you begging for her to notice you. It's about her realizing she doesn't fully have you. Now, don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean ghosting her, ignoring her out of spite, or playing childish games. Women can feel the difference between genuine distance and forced coldness. Genuine distance happens when you're simply living your life, focused, disciplined, not glued to her every move. Forced distance is when you're deliberately avoiding her to manipulate her feelings. And believe me, women can smell manipulation a mile away. But real distance, the kind that comes from a man who has his own world, his own priorities, his own purpose, that's intoxicating. It makes a woman crave you because she feels your value through the space you create. Every time you don't immediately respond, every time you show that your life doesn't revolve around her, you're teaching her, I'm not easily won over. I'm not yours just because you want me. If you want me, you have to prove it. 5. She wants what she can't fully have. When a woman comes across a man who doesn't treat her like the center of his world, something strange happens inside her. Most men chase, flatter, and bend over backwards for a woman they like. But when she meets a man who doesn't operate that way, who acts like she's not the prize he's desperate to win, it disrupts her usual rhythm. She doesn't know how to categorize him. Instead of feeling secure in his interest, she starts to wonder, why doesn't he need me like other guys do? Imagine a woman at a party. She's used to men hovering around, complimenting her, trying too hard. But then there's one man in the room who notices her, makes a little conversation, then goes right back to enjoying himself without making her the focus. He's friendly but not clinging, interested but not needy. Later that night, she realizes she's replaying him in her mind, not the ones who gave her constant attention. Why? Because his behavior sparked curiosity. The truth is, women are naturally drawn to challenge. If everything is given too easily, it loses its value. When a man acts like he doesn't need her, she feels this urge to prove herself, to get his attention, to win him over. It flips the script. Instead of her being the one evaluated, she starts evaluating him. And in that switch, the addiction begins. It's not about being cold or disrespectful. It's about not being desperate. A man who acts like he doesn't need her approval communicates confidence without saying a word. And women, whether they admit it or not, get hooked on that energy. 6. Women crave the emotional roller coaster. Here's something most men miss. Women don't get addicted to steady, predictable attention. They get addicted to the highs and lows of emotion. When a man makes her feel uncertain, when he doesn't always react the way she expects, her brain fires up. She starts to feel excited, nervous, even a little frustrated, and all of that fuels attraction. Think about it. If you always text her back instantly, always compliment her, always show up the moment she calls, there's no tension. She feels secure, yes, but not excited. What keeps a woman hooked is the unpredictability. Not knowing exactly how you'll respond or whether you'll prioritize her every time forces her to feel And once she feels, she starts to attach. This is why women chase men who act like they don't need them. It's not about arrogance. It's about mystery. It's about giving her enough to know you're interested, but not so much that she feels she has you in the palm of her hand. That gap between what she knows and what she doesn't is what fuels her addiction. Most men think women want full attention, but the truth is, if you give a woman everything up front, she gets bored. What she craves is the tension, the chase, the uncertainty. She doesn't want a man who worships her. She wants a man who excites her. 7. The power of subtle challenges. Here's something most men underestimate. Women love a man who gives them a little challenge. Not in a childish or disrespectful way, but in a way that keeps the interaction exciting. When everything is too easy, too predictable, too available, attraction fades fast. A subtle challenge sparks curiosity, keeps her engaged, and makes her want to earn your attention instead of just receiving it freely. Now, let's be clear. A challenge doesn't mean playing games or being manipulative. It means not always giving her everything she wants right away. If she texts you, you don't always have to respond instantly. If she's pushing boundaries, you don't always give in just to keep her happy. A man who values himself isn't afraid to say no or set limits. That quiet resistance is what makes her respect you, and respect is what deepens attraction. Think about it. Women are naturally drawn to men who make them feel like they have to step up to prove themselves worthy of his time and attention. That's why women often chase the men who aren't bending over backward to please them. Not because they like bad guys, but because those men present a subtle challenge that excites them. When you give her something to pursue, she invests in you. And when she invests, she gets attached. It's not about being unavailable or distant. It's about being a man who has standards, boundaries, and a life that doesn't revolve around her. So don't be afraid to hold back sometimes. Don't be afraid to say not now. Don't be afraid to show her that your world doesn't stop just because she's in it. That's not arrogance, that's strength. And it's exactly the kind of energy that keeps women hooked. Know this. Attraction isn't about tricks, games, or trying to outsmart a woman. It's about understanding how women think, what drives their emotions, and how to position yourself as the kind of man they naturally respect and desire. Everything we've broken down, from silence to walking away